Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Foley. I'm one of the chemical engineers in the School of Biotechnology, where one of our master's programs is the Masters in Bioprocess Engineering. I'm standing in today from my colleague Brian Freeland, and I'll give you his contact details towards the end of this talk. Um, the MSB has been around for quite a long time, actually, and it's a very successful program. We find we've quite a large number of students, and the sort of people who've tended to do it over the years have been very diverse, to be honest. I mean, we get a lot of biologists, and I'm talking about everything from microbiologists to pharmacists. Um, and some of those come straight from college, some have been in the workplace for a while. But the other cohort we get are people who work in industry, typically the pharma industry. And I suppose it's one thing you kind of have to get to grips with in your developing careers, and that is that learning never stops. And for a lot of people working in the biopharma business, further education of some kind is essential if they want to progress from either out of their current roles into more challenging roles, or simply just to move up the corporate ladder, so to speak. So we have those kind of two separate cohorts, and there are two versions of the degree. One is a full-time program done over a calendar year, essentially. And most people who take that full-time option would tend to be straight from college, so they would have a degree typically in the kind of microbiology type of area. The people who do the part-time tend to be working, so it suits them to just take things a bit more slowly, because if you do get into the biopharma business, you'll probably find that an awful lot of people work shifts, particularly if they're involved in production. So there are those two kind of twin streams, if you like, happening on the course. But essentially, you all do the same thing, just over different timescales. So I'll start sharing my screen, and hopefully this will go off without a hitch. I think I have to go to the window. And I'll get into presentation mode. Okay. So basically the way we teach this course is we do it kind of in blocks, and most teaching is done on Monday and Friday. Now, we are in a kind of a period of transition post-COVID, although saying post-COVID is a little bit optimistic, but the last 2 years, the course has been delivered substantially online, and we're going to retain a lot of those elements because it certainly suits the people who are working in industry not to have to come in, because the old way we used to do this was that you would do 4 hours lectures on Monday and 4 hours on Friday. So it was a big commitment for people who are out in the workplace. So next year, it's probably going to be that we're going to release material online on Mondays and Fridays. So there'll be a lot of self-directed learning going on, but we'll also have tutorials and the like that either be on campus or delivered live over Zoom. So, the future for all of us really is going to be blended, and it's going to suit, I think in general, we find it suits students to have that little bit of flexibility. But as I said, particularly if you're in the workplace. We have a collaboration in this master's with NIBRT, who are the National Institute for Bioprocess Research and Training, and they're out in UCD. So in the second semester, you go out there for a week. Well, hopefully, post-COVID, you'll be going back out there for a week, where you get exposed to what is, I suppose, a mocked-up GMP environment. And I think students generally get a lot out of that. So basically, if you have a very busy job and you're worried about the time commitment that this master's is going to involve, then I think you'll find that the increased flexibility we've put into the course since COVID will probably suit you. And even if you're just out of college and you probably might be working part-time or whatever, I think this kind of blended approach is going to suit you. But it is done in blocks rather than a traditional start 6 modules at the same time and go straight to the end of the semester. So in terms of, actually I'll skip that, and I think what I wanted to show you was the program structure. Yeah, here's the program structure. And because we have such a diverse body of students in this course, we have to take things relatively slowly. So in first semester, we give you a sort of a basic grounding in key ideas from bioprocess engineering and key ideas from biology. Now, the word engineering is used in this master's, but just to reassure you, engineering has a reputation for being full of maths. We tone down the maths a bit because we recognize you're coming from a very diverse range of backgrounds. So, the engineering that you will be taught is not something to be afraid of, and it's certainly something that we have tailored for the sort of audience we have in this program. So we've a module on the fundamentals of bioreaction engineering, one on introduction to bioprocess engineering, and that's really telling you about the tools of the trade of a bioprocess engineer. We're going to be talking about things like mass and energy balances and that kind of thing. And the reaction engineering is all about the heart of biotechnology, I suppose, which is the bioreactor. We have another module then in bioreactor design, modeling, and monitoring. And again, that's a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of bioreactors. How you maintain sterility, how you control temperature, how you control pH, how you control dissolved oxygen, and all that kind of stuff. And along with that, then we have some biology. So because you're from a diverse range, some of you may not have done, I suppose, the relevant amount of DNA technology, so cloning and all that kind of stuff. So we've a course on that. We've one on animal cell culture. And as you probably know, animal cell or mammalian cell culture is at the heart of biotechnology. Most modern drugs like monoclonal antibodies and the like are produced by mammalian cells grown in culture. So, and that is taught in conjunction with the National Institute for Cellular Biotechnology here in DCU. And we introduce a little bit on regulation then in semester one as well. And one thing you'll find if you go into biopharma is that it's a highly regulated environment. And, a lot of our graduates of both this program and the undergraduate degree programs, when they go into biopharma, they tend to work in regulation and validation and all those kind of areas. So they're not necessarily working at the bench, or they're not necessarily working on the factory floor, so to speak. They're actually working in an office, essentially making sure that all the processes in the plant follow, the proper regulations. So it's a one area of biopharma that employs a hell of a lot of people. Anyway, with those basics put in place, we move on then to second semester, which I suppose is aimed more specifically at the practice of working in biopharma. So we have 4 modules here: bioprocess scale-up, regulation and management again, formulation and delivery, will be the very end of any biopharma process, and facility design and operation. And we have some people that we collaborate that from industry who come in to deliver big chunks of these modules. We also have a lab, that's the one out in Neubert, and and then the bioprocess engineering project. Now, the project at the moment is designed as a desk study. In other words, you investigate something, but we're hoping to provide a small number of laboratory projects as well. It's just one of the issues is you're from such a diverse background in this class that it's difficult to come up with suitable or with laboratory projects that suit a lot of people in the class. So that's the basic structure, and the project, by the way, happens over the summer essentially. So you start in September of one year and you graduate in November of the following year if you do the full-time course. I could be wrong, but I think you've got 4 years to complete the part-time. That's something you might check with Brian Freeland. So you're obviously taking things at a very different pace. But for the full-time people, it's kind of September to September with graduation the following November. So it's a challenging course because, given, if you've come from a pharmacy background or a microbiology background, a lot of these modules are going to be quite new to you, the kind of material you're going to cover. But we kind of know that, and we've learned what level we should pitch all of this material at, and generally people don't have a huge amount of trouble getting through the course. So I've talked about that. Just in terms of the program requirements, we basically, to get through it, you'd want to be getting a good 2-1, to be honest. I mean, we'll accept people with 2-2s, but the better your track record, we generally find the more likely you are to get through the course. So basically, if you're struggling to get through your undergraduate degree or whatever, you probably shouldn't be thinking of a master's anyway. But that'll be the requirement. So in terms of who to contact, the person who runs the course, he's our chairperson, is Brian Freeland, who can't be here today. And you should definitely contact Brian and discuss the course with him and the various aspects of it, whether you think you'd be able for the engineering element. But as I said, it's not true engineering in the sense that it's not full of mathematics. It's engineering light in a way. But as I said, we have a very diverse student body in this program over the years. We've about 30 people enrolled at any given time, and it's about half and half, part-time and full-time. So I'm going to stop the sharing there now. And that's it. So yeah, and you can see Brian's email is up on the chat. So I'll just have a look at some of the chats inside the program. The program is delivered online, but there is a lab-based session. Yeah, next year, Emir, I'll talk. Brian has been unwell this week with a well-known virus that's doing the rounds. So I'll talk to Brian about this. So what your problem was, the program is delivered online, but well, the conditional offer means, Emer, that I presume you're not quite finished your undergraduate, that you'll have to get a second class honour, 2-2 minimum. But if you want to, you can give me a shout and I can get on to Brian. My email is greg.foley@tcu.ie. And I can, Brian's. Okay, so yeah. Well, you've got to pass your English tests, obviously, as well. Okay, so I don't really have a huge amount else to say. I mean, as we said there in the chat, it's predominantly online at the moment, and to be honest, that's probably the way it's going to be delivered for the foreseeable future. Mostly online, but with some opportunity to come in to do lab work and our project work. But we've found it's a very good program in the sense that the people from industry who do these jobs or do this course seem to move around in their companies more easily after doing it. And the people from maybe pure biology backgrounds who do it tend to find themselves a little bit more marketable for the kind of biopharma business. Okay, so unless there's any more questions in the chat, I think I'm up to my 15 minutes there.